Two voices meet at the edge of a line. One sees the ocean, the other the pine. Grounded in truth with a spark in their eye, they bridge the divide where the answers lie. Blue dot, red state, the stories unfold, where the heart meets the mind and the truth is bold. Different roads travel, but the same sky above. In the colors of discord, they paint with love.
All right. Welcome back, everyone. Blue Dot Red State podcast. I am here with another special guest, a friend of mine who actually helped out with a little bit of stuff. We'll talk about that in a minute. But first, our disclaimer, Blue Dot Red State is my views. I feel I am a Democrat in a deeply conservative state, so those are my views. Those do not necessarily reflect the views of any guest. These are just unedited, real conversations about topics that South Dakota folks want to view. So, Everett, tell us who you are.
I'm Everett. Um, I'm Everett Palmer, and like Billy said, I helped with Billy's launch video, which was super awesome. I do photo and video full time. Went to USF. I'm a USF alum for media as well, and I'm involved with the Transformation Project Advocacy Network. And what else? I'm a ferret dad. I have 2 ferrets. Love those little guys. So
Parrots.
yeah, that's
Oh,
yeah. Yep. Little
oh,
crazy guys.
I.
So
How does that like? How do you? Okay, so I have dogs. I want to know more about the ferrets. Like, how do you pet them? Like,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they're basically like I think there's a misconception like a ferret's in my opinion more close to being like a cat than it is like a rat.
sure. Okay.
Um they're going to take your socks and hide them. If you throw your socks, they're going to play fetch with them. You can bring them
Okay.
outside. They're going to find their way to the top of your closet and hide up there until you can't find them. Like
Okay.
they're crazy little guys, but they're a lot of fun. But you do pet them.
You do pet them. And is it true that they're social, so they need to be in like pairs? Is that was that a
Yeah.
true statement? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like 2 to 4 is good. So we have
Oh,
2.
yeah. I had heard that. Of course, I don't have parrots, so I don't really know that information. So, um,
I heard there's like a
man,
huge ferret boom in the 80s, so I'm
was
bringing it
there?
back.
I didn't,
That's what I
I
heard.
listen, we didn't even know, my household didn't even allow dogs in the house. So, growing up. So like there was definitely not going to be a ferret in our house for sure. That just wasn't allowed. Although I
Yeah.
will say in my parents' homes now, both of them have dogs inside the house. So just to clarify that they got a
Yeah,
little
that's
soft
always
as they got older, right? Trust me, they spoil the grandparents let my child get away with so much more things than I would have ever gotten away with as a child,
mhm.
which that's their job, right? That's their role. Um, Man, a lot of things are happening in the world. A lot of things are happening in South Dakota. Um, I appreciate you helping me so much with the video, the launch video. That was a really important piece of our campaign. The campaign for us was not doing it the same way. Like I'm not a get behind a podium and talk at people or to people. It's talking with people. And so I appreciate that. And I think you did a great job of wrapping around a vision of like and told our story of who we are. How do you run that? Like how do you take all that? Because I didn't give you everything by any means. I give you a little bit of script and a little bit of idea, but how do you do that?
I think it's just some people are like very like visualizers. So like for me, like you gave me a script and then I like visualize it and then I put it onto a mood board of how can we make this idea come to life in the real world. So it's just like I'm more of a visual person. Like with the script, I can start seeing how that's going to play out. Sorry. Um, but yeah, that's really, it's a really fun part of it, and it's something that I really enjoy. Like for me, my two things is advocacy, trying to make the world a better place, and then media and storytelling. And so any day that I can do both of those things is a good day. So yeah, I loved helping you with your launch video and just show who Billy is and what Billy's running on and how you can make this state a better place.
Gotcha. Advocacy is it's a big word and it means a lot of different things. So tell me more about like what I mean, this is kind of like an interview. I feel like I'm interviewing you and I feel like you should be interviewing me, but I do
True.
want to
Yeah,
know
I
like
can vouch for that.
yeah, I want to know what advocacy means to you because I think it has different meaning to different people.
Yeah, I like to think of advocacy as it can be just anything that you feel called to. So if you see an issue and you want to make the world a better place, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be picketing or protesting or boycotting. Those are all common things, but it can be, for me, how I really got into it was through my photography. Like I think that I really got activated during Black Lives Matter in 2020.
Okay.
That was at the same time that Black Lives Matter was happening. I was taking African American history in college, and so I also had my first really nice camera, and so all of those three things clashed together. And so yeah, for me, it started with photography, but it doesn't always have to be super. I don't know. You don't have to petition and do all those things. You can stay at home and paint. Um, you cannot buy from certain places. So advocacy is really broad to me. It's just whatever you can do, whatever your capacity is, mental or physical, what can you do um, to make the world a better place?
I would agree. I think advocacy can be big things, right? If your voice is big or your steps are big, they can be big things. And if all you can do in that day in that moment is a small thing, then that's also advocacy, right? Like if that's what you can do in that moment, then that's what you do, right? Because that's just as important. So I think that's great. Um, Storytelling is also advocacy. um, how like tell us a little bit about your story like or like what maybe let's go back. I don't want to do that. Let me ask you like I mean you can tell us your story. I don't want to cut you off from that.
We don't have
I
all
want to
day.
hear.
Yeah.
Yeah. That might I mean no one's ever asked me my story really per se and that's a smart choice. That would take probably two therapists and a week long session,
Honestly.
right? But what where where do you spend like what is heavy on your mind or something that or your heart that I think is bubbles up? Like when I say like what is important for South Dakota for Everett, right? That it may not be for everyone, but what's important for South Dakota for Everett? What does that mean? Like what's that first thing that comes to
Yeah. Well, the first thing that popped in my mind was um, transgender autonomy and their rights. And so when I think about South Dakota, I think about Fred Deutsch helping start, not like he didn't create it, but he had a huge push from South Dakota with the anti-trans rhetorics and dehumanizing a minority. And watching that kind of grow and all of those communications and stuff, it it is heavy, but at the same time, in a way, it seems more feasible because South Dakota had a big push, and I always think that South Dakota can also do the opposite, bring us back home, and like we just I don't know. I think everybody that grew up in South Dakota thinks, oh, it's just South Dakota, and we just like taught that mindset. But like a lot of, we have John Thune, we have Christy Nome. Like South Dakota is a big player, and we have to really do work to not minimize who we are. And I think everyday people completely minimize who we are. And so I would love to see South Dakota rehumanize trans people If you feel uncomfortable with trans people, reach out to the Transformation Project and get more information. If you and please just fact check things. Like you can fact check trans people all the way back. Just don't listen to people on a podcast. You know what I'm saying right now. Go and re look up what I'm saying. But yeah, I really want to see, with where South Dakota is always a big pusher of these transgender bans and bills that turn into laws, and I want to see all of that get undone, and us being a leader. And I don't even know if it would be progress, but just going back to common sense.
Right, just autonomy, like you said. I mean, I think that is a big part of who South Dakota is, right? We just want to live our own lives and be our own people, in my
Mhm.
mind, from my perspective. And that doesn't matter who you are. I think that is just a part of being in South Dakota. You just want to live your own life and be who you want to be. Um, and be who you are, not just be who you want to be who you are. It's it's really from that perspective, it's hard to watch from the angle of misinformation and disinformation. I can only imagine what trans folks are trying to work through of like seeing that. It's like I don't know firsthand how that feels, right? Because that's not who I am. But
Mm.
to live in the world of misinformation and disinformation, there's a that's why we have this podcast. This is this is our version of taking the keyboard warriors and moving it into face-to-face conversations, right? Because it's so easy to sit behind a screen and be like, say all the mean things that you want to say and type them out, and then say other mean things that you want to say. And it either says anonymous or it says something quirky or says something even kind of stupid as a username. But it's really tough to sit in a space where you're face to face with someone and have the same kind of conversations. Because I think when we do that, we're humanizing what life is and we're actually humanizing conversation. And so I just appreciate that you brought that forward because like that that is what this is. And education is the only way. If you're uncomfortable with something, why don't you educate yourself? Why don't you learn about what this is just a little bit more? We used to live that life. Now we just dismiss it. And I don't know I can't pinpoint where that moment went. And maybe you can. Maybe you're smarter than me, but oh, well, you definitely are smarter than me. But maybe you're smart enough to know that like, where did the pinpoint happen where we just started dismissing things instead of like trying to educate ourselves? I don't know. That's what
I don't
breaks
know.
my heart.
Yeah, I think phones were a hell of a drug. Like I was just talking to my grandparents last night, having a family night, and saying how like my parents and my grandparents' generation, it was so common for the neighbors to kind of help parent, like if they know a kid's doing something bad, like they're going to be like, hey, like in a stern way, like they felt comfortable doing that. And it's just like that's very taboo. At least that feels very taboo now. And we were saying like, oh, maybe it was phones, but anyways, like that's a side tangent. But yeah, like I don't know, a lot of things have changed, but I think we're kind of reaching a point of like wanting to go back to our human roots. Like we're craving connection. Like we had a huge dopamine hit, but now we're craving connection. I know a lot of people feel that way now.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I talked about it in the last podcast was like there's two things you can do to help your child be successful. And one of them is have family, like have a meal together. And it's not the meal. It has nothing to do with like the food, although healthy food is better for you, right? And you saw it's like literally we made that meal for 4 hours at our house in that video. It was actually fun, but we did make that meal in person. But it's about the connection. That is that is the whole purpose behind everything. And if we just have differences, then we can literally overcome them by talking through them. We partisan politics used to be great because they were how we built solutions to things. And now they're how we build like war fields for things. And it's really like, gosh, we've got to change that. I mean, we literally like talking about what's happened this week. I don't want to go deep into that, but like what's happened this week has become Warfield stuff. And we have got to change how we do that. I mean, we do. We have to build connections with people.
Yeah, I don't
So
think anybody's listening to anybody in some of those topics. It's better to, especially you bringing it up, like sharing a meal, like that's so primal to us. Like meet together, share food with one another, have a discussion, and reach solutions is a very powerful thing, and we've gotten away from that.
yes.
But yeah, I didn't really plan anything of what to say, but I kind of realized, like, I guess something I can ask you is like, with me caring a lot about trans advocacy and trans advocacy coming from South Dakota, and me also being Gen Z and being connected with a lot of other Gen Z and millennials, I think in terms of the Democratic Party, I think a lot of people are pulling away because they feel like the Democratic Party did them a disservice with Gaza and with trans people. They ended up getting really quiet with trans people because the right was so loud about it, and so it felt like they pulled away. And for sure, the Gaza was just not represented enough. And so I want to make a disclaimer that I can see the difference between South Dakota Democratic Party and the Democratic Party of the U.S. There's a big difference. Like if you watch the sessions in Pierre, if you ever have free time to watch a session in Pierre this winter, you'll see that the Democrats that are elected in South Dakota, like they will fight tooth and nail for what they believe in. They put in the work, and so anybody that doesn't think that they do that, you have to do your homework. But there's speaking to like the Gen Z population, like what would you say to kind of reel them in, that you as a candidate and you as a candidate that would end up going to a national level, like how would you represent minorities here at home? Because we know that the current person in that seat is not doing that.
Um, well, again, any great conversation and any type of boundary or wall breaking down, right? Starts with listening and starts with just conversations. One, I won't be able to answer, I won't have answers for every single thing. I don't know how every person has ever lived. I can't walk through every person's shoes, right? I know how I've walked through my shoes, but elevating someone's voice, and that doesn't mean speaking for someone. That means bringing them into the conversation and elevating their voice is the best way to represent someone, right? Now, as an elected official, you get the voices and you get the vote, right? Like your voting record becomes a voice in something. So yes, voting for minority issues is always going to be, I mean, that is a Democrat thing, right? Like that has always been a Democrat platform in general. We're going to say that like as a broad perspective. But there just hasn't been enough folks brought to the table to listen to, right? Like we just haven't had the conversations. We've said, I think in the past, as a national organization, I think Democrats have brought in and said, we want your vote. We'll listen to you. And then when the election's over, it's back to business as usual, right? And I don't want to deny the fact that when you get into DC, how the is made is totally different, right? Like it it is politics. Like you are trying to figure out how you're going to swing this vote for this vote, and that's why we need to get money out of politics. That's why we need to get why we need to have single serve bills that say this is the bill that we're going to do. Right? We're not going to have this spending bill and then we're going to tack on something else. So you won't vote for this bill because I need this bill to do this. Right? Like what we're about to see is there's a budget bill at the end of this month, right? The government will run out of money September 30th at midnight, October 1, I guess at midnight, whatever you want to say, if they don't pass some sort of budget bill and the government will shut down. Are we going to get a budget? I would be very shocked if we get a budget. Great if they can do that, but I would be very, very shocked. What will happen is they will somehow form probably a continuing resolution and then they'll push that date to right before Christmas. Why will they do that? Because nothing says we can pin you against the wall to do something to get what we want by putting you against a holiday or something like that. And that's just gross politics. I mean, we know what it is. That's just not the right, like, it's what you do because it's a power move, but it's not the right thing to do. That's the facts. So I don't know if I really did answer your question, Everett. I don't know that I could say something that would just empower Gen Z to say, yes, I'm the right person. But I think the start is having these conversations and listening.
Yeah, I think what Gen Z really, a lot of them, what they need is they need to hear that in order for them to get motivated to vote, because they're very like they're not even motivated to vote. A lot of them are. I think they need people who are very loud about the issues that are critical to them. So, we care a lot about Gaza, what's going on, a genocide in our lifetime that we want to stop. We care a lot about trans people, people that we know that are our neighbors. And then we care about the environment, like we're inheriting this climate. And so, yeah, they're like candidates that don't shy away from that. And I don't think you are one of them, but I think that's what the younger generations need to hear is people that are repping it from the start and will follow it through.
Gotcha. You want us to be loud and saying this is what we want. For you, that's what you want. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like this
and I
is what
know
I
like
stand for. Yeah.
and I know it's difficult in South Dakota too because you don't want to lose other people, but that's just speaking from the Gen Z perspective, why they kind of started backing away from Democrats.
No, I think we have to stop worrying about the next election cycle and have to just talk about what's now. I think that's the answer,
Mhm.
right? We have to start talking about what's now, right? So, that concludes our time today. It was short. It was fast. I can't believe that it came so fast. And I'm sorry we didn't get the time. We are gonna probably have to continue this conversation again because I want to
Yeah, no
dig a
kidding.
little deeper. I want to dig a little deeper into like the three things that you talked about, to be honest, and have like a deep conversation about what those are. But thank you for coming on the podcast. I appreciate you so much. And we'll see you soon.
See you soon. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Grounded in truth with a spark in their eye, they bridge the divide where the answers lie. Blue dot, red state, the stories unfold, where the heart meets the mind and the truth is bold. Different roads travel, but the same sky above, in the colors of